These plus many more stories coming ahead with me, Fatmata Sise, to stay with us. Welcome to the news, and we begin this bulletin with a major deal between the Gambia and Japan as the two governments sign a food assistance grant worth $2,337,650 at the Atlantic Hotel in Banjul. The rice aid is said to be part of Japan's annual official development assistance to the Gambia. A moment of renewed cooperation between Tokyo and Banjul. The food support underlines Japan's commitment to work closely with the government of the Gambia in addressing Gambia's food security situation. The move aimed at elevating bilateral ties between the two countries, and it comes amid a period of robust and fruitful cooperation in the areas of education, health, fisheries, and food security. The food assistance is expected to alleviate food shortage, stabilize food prices, and support socioeconomic development through the utilization of the counterpart fund. The Japanese government has pledged to continue the work already started with the Barrow administration to address the needs of the population. And moving on, the Committee of Banjul Muslim Elders, headed by the Imam Ratib of Banjul and the Supreme Islamic Council under the leadership of its president, Imam Mamadou Lamin Touré, have started a nationwide peace-building tour set to last for 5 days. The tour is meant to preach peace and encourage the population to unite and strengthen national cohesion. The tour is the second part of a major outreach program that started last year. At a meeting held in Essel village in North Bank region, religious leaders and elders advised the community to preach peace and embrace it as an important instrument to establish a stable society and national development. Next, it's called Pink October, a month especially dedicated to raising awareness on cancer. Now, this is advocates are paying particular attention to breast cancer. On Saturday, activists in the Gambia convened to launch the Breast Cancer Awareness Month amid an increasing demand for more commitment to action on cancer. The event kickstarts activities marking a major awareness-raising campaign and resource mobilization undertaking to tackle the threat of cancer, particularly among women. Babkar Senghor has details in this report.
A month of intense activism and awareness creation began with the launch of the Pink October Breast Cancer Awareness Month. The color of choice here is pink, depicting the unique focus on the reality of the devastating impact of breast cancer, which according to experts is ravaging lives among the country's women folk. Lack of awareness, inadequate or in truth, lack of the required medical facilities are hindering hopes of tackling and at best help women with breast and other forms of deadly cancers. All hopes are lost. For women, many of them young Gambian women with support from partners, are spearheading efforts to help their fellow women live lives free of cancer. Ajikumba Dafe, one of the leading members of the organization, painted a bleak picture of the situation confronting cancer patients in the Gambia. So many of our women are dying of cancer, she said in an emotional address during the launch of the month-long event.
So here we are, we set up in Senegal, and all these patients are coming from Senegal, and the league will just call us and tell us, "Sen mboka yang fi, sen mboka yi ñëw na." So when they come, it breaks our heart. Every time when the Gambian patients come, they die. They die. All the time they come, they die, because they are at the 4th stage of cancer. And for something that is very, very treatable, a disease that could be treatable if you're in the 1st and the 2nd stage. But by the time the women in this country come, in Senegal, all of them, all we can do for them is give them morphine and send them to go die. And we said, this cannot happen. We're fighting this here in Senegal, where we're seeing all these patients dying, and we cannot do anything for them. So here, we bring the fight to where we need to bring it.
And hers was not the only inspiring moment of. Much of that was provided by Ida Sisenjai, a cancer survivor. True to her character, she took the gathering through her tough battles with cancer. It was tough, but Ida during these most difficult of moments had her family, her friends and doctors, and she pulled through.
One thing I learned about this whole thing is that here in the Gambia, when you're sick, people leave you alone. People run from you. They don't even want to talk about what's wrong with you. My friends are not like that. My family was not like that. They were amazing. And I decided if they can do that for me, I should be able to do it for somebody else.
And now much of the work these women are doing is being aided by partners including experts from neighboring Senegal, doctors from Senegal, and availability of high-tech facilities like mammograms and the use of smart concepts such as the Bajani Goh have helped galvanize efforts in combating the threat of cancer in the country.
As you know, the Minister of Health is also in the process of revitalizing and strengthening primary health care in this country, meaning that we want to make sure that every community, every village in this country is designated as a primary health care village, meaning they will have a village health worker and community birth companion. That will also help us as well. That is our currently we have about 891 village primary health care villages in this country, out of about 1,889 villages which we want to enter by 2020.
Strategic objectives when it comes to community engagement, and one of them is health, and of course we look at environment and education. So this is right up our street and we're very pleased to be part of this.
Leading urologist Dr. Abubakar Jah painted another bleak picture of the cancer situation in the Gambia, noting that the lack of awareness and early detection remain major hindrance in the treatment of cancer in the country.
So the story is bleak for cancer in the Gambia in every way. But after having worked in the Gambia since 2003 as a doctor, which is coming to about 20 years now, today I'm seeing a ray of hope that maybe something will be done. There are more philanthropic organizations now that are thinking about cancer. And the more important thing is that we are now trying to come together to form this league so that we can work together as a coalition to fight cancer. We have fought cancer in a coalition before, but now we're fighting cancer again in a coalition. And we are going to make sure that this works, that we are going to put all our thoughts together and make sure that we fight cancer together.
Now for the next few weeks, these women and their partners are set to work together in raising awareness about the disease and also work hard to mobilize the necessary funds to acquire needed life-saving equipment such as mammograms to help in taking the necessary steps in building viable futures for the women of the country. It is a major step that has the goodwill and support of many, and one that has the inspiration of one survivor, whose iron will is slowly making a huge difference in the lives of so many women in the Gambia. For Grts News, this is Babukar Senghor.
Supporting access to potable water, the Barrow Youth for National Development Saturday inaugurated a new borehole at the Bakau Health Center with members of the community. Sena Bujani reports the activity coincided with a major cleansing exercise to sanitize the health center.
The momentous occasion unveiling a solar-powered borehole was marked by a massive cleansing exercise at the Bakau Health Center. This is a joint initiative between the community and the members of the Barrow Youth for National Development. The activity attracted several women groups and top government officials. Members of the BYM also delivered a donation to the health center whose importance was underscored by the group's Secretary General, Keba Fofana.
The need arises that there was a concern that they don't have regular water supply. In fact, there was no water at all. So as an organization, it is part of our social responsibilities. I can say this organization came out of the felt need to do a little that might promote the social well-being of the entire citizenry, so that the nurses and the women who might come equally also would be availed with the enabling environment or the conducive environment where reliable healthcare services can be dispensed.
The regional administrator of Western 1, Asan Jabang, explains the difficulties and the challenges they endure before the coming of the BYM intervention.
Since I resumed as a in this region. It was a very hectic, problem we have here. Because since almost 1 year, I was here, but every day the issue of backup water problem was a concern.
The difficult access to potable water supply has been a nightmare for the Bakau Health Center, according to the religious advisor to President Barrow, Dembo Bojang, who told the gathering that he has never seen a project like this in Bakau. Alaji Sankare, the regional director of Health Services Western 1, proceeded over the handing over of the new borehole installation at the Bakau Health Center. Here, he thanks the Bakau Youth for National Development for helping to resolve the long-standing water challenges at the Bakau Health Center.
We must thank the movement for coming timely to ensure that provision of water supply is ensured in this facility. We all know water is essential for life, even as individuals, much more as a health facility. A health facility cannot move without water supply, and we hope and pray that this long-standing water situation has now come to an end, and this borehole will go a long way in enhancing the quality of water supply that we need in this health facility.
Fatu Sanyang, the officer in charge of the health center, hailed the youth movement for what she described as a well-timed gesture.
So we therefore thank the Barrow Foundation for coming to our aid and also for relieving our stress of water. So now we are very happy, and we hope that other people will also emulate the good gesture in trying to uplift our facility, because there are still some pending works that we want to be completed.
Women and elders of the community also thanked the movement for a laudable move, providing 2 new boreholes supported by solar for the health facility. The borehole project, estimated at 250,000 dalasis, was put together by the Barrow Youth Movement, philanthropists and other donors who came together to support healthcare development in Bakau. Sainabu Jain reporting.
The National Council for Civic Education continues the second phase of its national dialogue on democratic governance, tolerance and reconciliation, with meetings in Janekunda and Jifarong in Kiang West, Lower River region. As Alajimbai reports, discussions centered on democracy, good governance and peaceful coexistence.
The National Dialogue on Democratic Governance, Tolerance and Reconciliation by the National Council for Civic Education seeks to strengthen the understanding of democracy among citizens and clarify misconceptions on democracy. The sensitization campaign, supported by ECOWAS, the tenets of democracy and good governance, as well as promote dialogue to ensure reconciliation and peaceful coexistence. Yusuf Bojang is the program manager at the National Council for Civic Education. He said such activities will help citizens to understand their rights and corresponding responsibilities.
This is the Gambia that belongs to all of us, and yes, this country is a democratic country, even though we may not say we have 100% democracy, because democracy is an ongoing thing, but we should remember that democracy is all about responsibility. Democracy is about respect for the rule of law. You cannot be talking about the democracy in isolation. You cannot be talking about your rights in isolation without taking care or thinking of your duties as a citizen. So these things goes hand in hand, and we should be cognizant of those facts. Democracy gives you those rights and freedoms to enjoy, but you should know that also it goes with duties, and among the duties, you should try to respect people. You should also try to be tolerant. You should try to open up to people, but you should not be instigating, insulting people, saying whatever you want, all in the name of democracy. That is not helping, and that is not helping the country.
Junkunke Sedi of NCCE described good governance as a fundamental pillar of democracy. He, however, pointed out that good governance requires commitment to the rule of law and national development by the duty bearers and the population.
Democracy cannot go without good governance. Democracy needs, to solve the problem of the masses. So good governance is part of democracy. But in good governance, it is not only government to do all. People also have to participate in the governance. They have to participate. They have to take part. Because it's their right. They'll be governed by leaders, and then those leaders should know what their interest is, so that they can work on those interests.
Participants, including Nyakasi Manjang of Janekunda, acknowledged the importance of the forum and thanked the organizers for the initiative.
ngalla ko momoy bake adum mba atenten nan sondo mola bake.
We have heard your message clearly and we are going to critically think about it.
Civic
This
education
sensitization is very important. I have attended series of meetings with civic education. The meeting we had at Karantaba, we discussed the rule of law and how to follow due process.
Mojumalle nyanta tarla banko la loi nyin kunna nyanta mo sifa jumalle tombo na ngawo kacha beke.
Various speakers took turn to ask questions as well as advised people to put aside political differences and focus on national development. The sensitization campaign continues with meetings in the West Coast region later this month. Alajimbai, GRTS News.
Tostan is training local partners in the Upper River region on SMS texting and management skills. The training is aimed at empowering local communities to read and write in their own language. Our regional correspondent Seydou Kamara reports.
Will avail the participant the knowledge how to use mobile phone texting, calculation and management skills courtesy of Tostan the Gambia. Representing the Regional Education Director, Lamin Sise commended Tostan for their intervention, particularly in the area of numeracy and literacy, while thanking them for partnering with their office.
Barely 2 weeks ago, I attended a program that was held at Medina Samba, Jao. At that program, I was amazed by the numeracy and literacy that were shown by your students. It was quite amazing.
Women's Bureau Coordinator URR Mustafa Koli acknowledged the work of Tostan in the country as they complement government efforts in all sectors.
Citing their interventions in the various domains of lives and livelihood, will come to conclude and agree with me that Tostan is one of the few NGOs in this country that are genuinely contributing their quota to national development, thus contributing and complementing the efforts of the government of the Gambia. I don't know whether it is by design or by default, but Tostan's intervention has succeeded in changing all their intervention villages to be a republic of themselves, whether they know it or not.
The National Coordinator of Tostan, Idrissa Keita, highlighted the importance of the program as it will enable local members to know how to write SMS texting and management skills.
So Aude is part of the program implementation where we educate the people how to read, write, do calculation, do simple arithmetic. They can be able to read in their local languages, either Mandinka, Fula, Sarahule, any local language of that particular community where we work. So we launched the next aspect of the program, that is Aude 2. Aude 2 concentrate much more on the literacy aspect by using mobile phones. So that the participants, we educate them how to use mobile phone, how to record phone numbers, how to receive and send simple SMS texting, but also how they can use it, mobile phone have numbers. So we educate them on calculation already, so they can still use a mobile phone to do simple addition, subtraction, etc. They can calculate their business, profits, interest, etc. etc. So also can communicate to their people even in the diaspora through the use of their local language, either Mandinka or Fula or Sarahule. This is key in sustaining that particular development in the people.
Representing the governor of the region, Mamadou Bilo Jallo, said the SMS texting and management skills initiative by Tostan is a great move. Jallo urged participants to take the training serious and participate fully.
You think of the SMS, which is very key and fundamental. And then you also look at management. Even if you go to the informal sector, you realize that management is a very, very, very challenging issue in our lives today. Management is very, very important. So if you are given the opportunity to come here and then try to at least grab such, trainings on management, I think the knowledge will go a long way in trying to transform your life. And you will also try to at least replicate it down. Because what is more important is, if you understand, like other speakers has alluded before, you are able to understand, you are able to get the skills that you share with others in our community who haven't got the opportunity to come, to this training.
Officer expressed optimism of a great performance and understanding of the program by participants at the end of the 2-week training. Seydou Kamara reporting for GRTS News from Basse, Upper River region.
We'll take a break now. Sport news up next. Stay tuned. back now. The amazing story of Uganda's Halima Nyakai, who has been the revelation of the 17th EAF World Championships in Doha. Nyakai memorably surged through the home stretch to give her country the first women's 800 meters global title and their only medal so far at Doha 2019. CGTN's Mohamed Abubakar brings us the exclusive interview from Qatar, where first Nyakai reveals she was confident of victory.
To me, what I said, as long as we could make it to final everything is possible. And we had a good preparation, yeah. With my teammates, coaches, they prepared us in a good way because we were seeing our bodies were responding, yeah. However much at the beginning of the season, it was not in a perfect way. But to me, by the time we were ending the season, my body was in a perfect shape.
Halima, you're now the world champion. The following year is an Olympic year. Are you ready for the demand that comes with a world champion?
Yeah, now I'm a world champion. I have to advance. You know, being a champion, so it's not an easy task. How to maintain that level? Yeah, but I lead a simple life. I remain the same Halima always. Yeah, keep on listening to my training partners, the coaches, the managers. Yeah, I know I'll be in position to maintain more good things. They will come in future with God.
It's been a lot of years of hard work for you to get to where you have. Maybe share with us some of the ingredients you feel an athlete needs to have, especially when progressing in their career.
Discipline is more important. Commitment, listening, yeah, because there are so many people talks, but you have to know the good things which can make you to be a champion. Sometimes it could fail, but you just know it's not the end of the day. You have to pick up yourself and you keep on moving.
All right, Halima, before I let you go, is there any athlete you've been looking up to throughout your career, and maybe why?
You know Faith, for 1500 meter, she's my good friend. So previous years I could not get access to talk to her, but when I went for Olympics, I got a chance.
South Africa's Constitutional Court has banned child spanking. The issue has caused intense debate across all facets of society. South Africa is rated with high levels of violence, especially among women and children. Previously, parents were allowed to use spanking to discipline their children, but that is now being banned. We have more in this report.
South Africa silently suffer abuse in their homes. Half of the 1,000 children killed between 2017 and 2018 died from neglect and abuse. The Constitutional Court has now put a stop to it by banning spanking, a move applauded by child rights advocates.
The aim is twofold. Firstly, advancing children's rights and just making everyone understand that children are individual rights holders. And the second thing is that South Africa is a very violent society, and we have to understand this judgment in light of, the harsh realities of child abuse and violence against children in South Africa.
Discipline has been erroneously associated with punitive approaches and punitive responses. And of course, that may seem to have an immediate effect. But if we look at the bigger picture, it's a short-term impact, but of course doesn't make lifelong changes.
This is the first step in stemming the scourge of child abuse in South Africa, but there's still a long way to go in determining the regulatory framework and how such cases will be handled.
It's not about throwing every parent into jail or incarcerating families. A lot of work still has to be done where government departments have roles and responsibilities, like, for instance, social development, ensuring that families get the necessary support in not repeating this kind of behavior.
South Africa joins a growing list of over 50 countries to completely outlaw corporal punishment. While some parents are opposed to the ruling.
And Guinea-Conakry had essentially been an epicenter of global focus during the Ebola outbreak a few years ago. A study has recently been produced looking at the extent of the deadly disease in the country. Now, one interesting thing about it all is that there is still stigma around Ebola survivors. CGTN was able to identify a survivor who has lost 7 family members, and he talks about the research conducted and life after Ebola.
40-year-old Kamara Fodi Abbas walks into his compound like a man on a mission. After a long day at work, he is coming home to his family and is determined to enjoy every bit of his second chance at life. It has been 2 years since Kamara recovered from his brush with Ebola. 7 members of his family didn't survive. Kamara was living in this very same compound when he contracted the viral hemorrhagic fever.
It was when one member of my family who was coming from Kindia in the countryside arrived, and we thought he only had malaria, but he had Ebola.
Every family member who had come into contact with the patient was sent to hospital.
At the hospital, they tested me and told me they would keep me for 72 hours. I ran away and hid, but later I came back.
Doctors treated Kamara until he recovered, but he had lost 7 family members and would have to start life afresh.
I'm so happy because I'm with my family. It's like I'm reborn.
Even now, the memories of the dead are still fresh. It is the story of Ebola survivors affected by an outbreak which started in Guinea and quickly spread to neighboring Liberia and Sierra Leone. The initial case was reported in December 2013. An 18-month-old boy from a village in Guinea was reportedly infected by bats. Poor public health infrastructure contributed to the difficulty surrounding the containment of this outbreak.
First matter was the weakness of the health system. So it wasn't easy to recognize the case.
With the help of organizations such as Doctors Without Borders and the World Health Organization, by 2016, the 3 countries were declared Ebola-free. But the scars remain. A new report by Lancet Infectious Diseases shows people who survive the Ebola virus infection often die a year after leaving hospital. The cause of death for over 60% of those who died within a year was tentatively attributed to kidney failure. It is a finding that some scientists believe needs further investigation.
There's a need to follow up on Ebola disease survivors because Ebola is a systemic disease. It's a disease that affects all systems in the body, all the organs, kidney, the heart, the lung, you have bleeding. So it's a very severe disease. The virus can persist in some body fluids, including, the semen and so on. So there have been studies to see how to also reduce the risk.
Kamara has only suffered minor ailments since. It is a bittersweet victory. He lost his loved ones, but he is still here, and after a period of loss and turmoil, life has new meaning. The mention of Ebola often sparks fear. However, here in Guinea, survivors have found hope and a fresh new lease of life, and they are determined to wring every moment out of their second chance at life.
Let's take a look at our top stories now before we wrap up this edition of the news. Japan has recommitted to deepen ties with Banjul as Ambassador Tangara and Tatsuo Are Peps finalize an over $2 million food aid for the Gambia. Promoting peaceful coexistence for national development, civic education officials have expanded engagements with locals to strengthen democracy and good governance. In internationals, spanking in Africa, the corporal punishment debate has taken a new turn in South Africa as the Constitutional Court moves to ban spanking in the country. And new Ebola research has showed the likelihood of survivors dying from Ebola within a year of being cured. That is all in this edition of the News at 10 with me, Fatima Tassise. On behalf of the entire news team, thanks for watching. And don't forget, we are also online on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. Until then, keep watching GRTS.